small rebel force has penetrated the shield and landed on Endor.
This is where the fun begins.
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
This is Rebel Force Radio.
Your source for the Force.
Star Wars news and commentary.
With Jason Swank and Jimmy Mack.
I've seen Star Wars 500 times. Star Wars #1!
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe. I suggest we use it.
Now it's time for Rebel Force Radio.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Hey, Star Wars fans, Jimmy Mack here with you, and we are locked and loaded. We are back from the Edge. I've been to the Edge, and now I've returned. Galaxy's Edge, I'm going to have my very first review of Disneyland's new Star Wars land. Jason Swank is actually on the road, family vacation. Jason is at the beach with the family, but joining me this week to sit in and hear all about the incredible things that I saw at Galaxy's Edge is your friend, my brother, Billy Mack. Hey, Bill.
How you doing?
Good. So
I'm your facilitator for this week.
Thank you so much. I need all the facilitating I can get, and I just had an amazing time at Galaxy's Edge. Now, here's a surprise. As we're signing on, Bill, you're here because I needed someone to give my review to, but I think Jason is trying to get a hold of us from the beach. I didn't expect this, but he wants us to get him in here because he wanted to hear a little bit of my Galaxy's Edge review. So let's see if we can punch him up on the comm link now.
Alrighty.
Jason, are you there?
Hey.
Dude.
Aloha.
Aloha, where are you?
Aloha, bro.
Well, I'm not in Hawaii, but I am on the beach. I'm actually sitting on the beach right now in Sandbridge Beach. It's just a little north of Virginia Beach.
Wow.
And it is absolutely beautiful. It's about 90 degrees and overlooking the pool to my left and the surf to my right. And there are several surfers out here. I was just remarking to someone here about it feels very California here. It doesn't have that, certainly not like Florida, Southern, South Carolina beach. It feels more like California to me.
Yeah, except without all the freaks.
Yeah.
Listen, because I'm telling you, I know firsthand. I just got back from California. And we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk all about it. We're going to talk about you're jumping in at the perfect time because I know you really wanted to hear my first review of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, everyone else's reviews, that's one thing. It's great to hear. But for me to really get a taste of what it's like for a real Star Wars fan, lifelong Star Wars fan, I gotta hear it from a guy like you.
Yes. Was there on my own dime. I'm not shilling for anyone. But I want to be honest because there's been a lot of reports about lack of attendance, about the place being deserted.
It's a ghost town. Ghost town.
I can honestly tell you that was not the case at Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. As a matter of fact, I would say the majority of the population of the attendance at the overall Disneyland park were in that Galaxy's Edge area. It was heavily populated the times I was there. But still, I got to say, it was manageable. It was a manageable crowd to negotiate around. I was in Disneyland around this time a year ago, and it did seem much more condensed and packed. With the addition of 20% more space to the park, along with their attempts at widening passageways and just making it easier for the overall flow, I think has made attendance in the park spread out more, and it just makes it more manageable. But yes, a lot of people were hanging out in Galaxy's Edge, and there were some very crowded areas. I shot a lot of video, so you're going to be able to see a lot of stuff that I saw through my video that'll be dropping later this week. And you'll see crowds in the video, okay? I mean...
All right.
But
Speaking
it's
of
not
video,
like...
I have to ask, you've seen your fair share of video coverage. You've seen a lot of photos. You've seen you've almost had a full second or third hand experience. Mm-hmm. So did it still give you the goosebump moments that everyone talks about?
Well, see, here's the thing. I had avoided a lot of those videos that would go really in depth into what the place looked like, what the layout was like. I had a vague idea, and the park did match up to some of those images I had in my mind. But there were tons of surprises for me there. Because it felt fresh. Like I said, I was avoiding those walkthrough videos and all that stuff. I wanted to do it myself. So we were there last Sunday, and with the family, myself, Wendy, Michael, and Dylan. And we walked in through the Critter Country entrance, which is over by Splash Mountain. What you want to do is look for the path by the Hungry Bear restaurant and just follow that. And it's a nice little walk, and you really feel like you're transitioning into a whole nother galaxy, sort of. I mean, it's sort of cool how they did it with sounds, and you just emerge from this nice little nature path to an X-Wing and an A-Wing. And the way it just sort of reveals itself was really cool. And it's like, wow, you're here, you know. What's that?
Galaxy's Edge. Do you start to hear the sounds of Galaxy's Edge before you even enter?
Yeah, it's kind of this sort of new agey soundtrack that's playing on the speakers all around you. And the first thing you notice are the light fixtures are looking a little more, a little different from what you were seeing in Critter Country. And,
I would hope. Unless it was taking you into, like, the Ewok village or something.
Mm-hmm. Well, it kind of even almost had that sort of vibe to it, those sort of tribal drums sort of playing in the background, but really new agey.
Well, so the sound, I'm just trying to understand, the sounds are like atmospheric?
Yes.
Or is there music?
Yeah, it's music. It's
like Star Wars music?
No, it's like new agey music. I don't know how to describe it.
So is it supposed to be, what do they call that in film? Like source music? Is it supposed to be like the music that's playing in the world? Or
I don't get that. No, it felt more
soundtrack.
Yeah, more soundtracky for sure. And so you walk in there, and the first thing you see is the X-Wing and the A-Wing and a moisture evaporator. And it really becomes obvious to you where you're at. You know, you're like, oh my God, I'm in Star Wars. And walking around the place, it definitely has a hardcore Star Wars aesthetic. But again, and I'm going to go through some of this, there are places where you look at it and go, that just does not say Star Wars to me. You know, it looks like a bunch of farmers market crap thrown into a corner. And there were even times when I was seeing fixtures that were exactly identical to some knickknacks that Wendy has in her garden. So I was like, I don't know.
All right, well, okay, now let me push back a little bit on this. I'll play devil's advocate with you in that, hasn't there been a history of real world objects showing up slightly changed? I mean, all the Greeblies and whatnot from the original trilogy down to the Schick razor that was used for the communicator in the prequels. There is an element of real world infiltration.
But
it's not identifiable.
Yeah, and the razor was.
Oh, the razor is totally identifiable.
Yeah, but it's repurposed as like a communicator, is something different. This stuff is all serving the same purpose that it does in Wendy's garden. You know, it's just there to decorate stuff. You know what I mean? It just seems like decoration, but that's a real minor quibble. The place is just massive on scale. The first structure we walked into is the marketplace, and the marketplace is huge. And in there's where you get your food offerings and stuff, and the weird Cokes, you know, the Cokes that are shaped like thermal detonators.
Yeah.
Oh my God, the drama we had with these Cokes. Every Sprite we got was flat, okay? And it's like, you know, we're paying $5.50 for a little, basically, shot of Coke and Sprite, and it's flat? You know, no. So we kept having to take the Sprites back And I think the lady at the counter was getting a little pissed off.
What's going on with these sodas? Are they filling them right there, like out of the fountain?
No.
Or are they actually coming bottled that way?
Yeah, they're bottled that way.
Okay.
They're bottled like little thermal detonators, and then you keep them as some sort of wacky souvenir. So of course I kept.
I wonder why they're all flat.
But they were flat. The Sprites were flat, and then we couldn't get the cap back on one of them, and so, I mean, the family kept taking the Sprites back to the counter. It must have happened 4 or 5 times. I thought they were going to call, Greedo out to shoot us or something after a while. But I was, like $5.50 for a little soda. You better give us one that's carbonated, okay? But, again, a minor quibble. Just be on the lookout for those thermal detonator Cokes because I don't know if they quite have the bottling process.
Problems bringing those back on the airplane?
No, they were just empty. But I packed them anyway, so.
Somebody might say in TSA, he's bringing a thermal detonator.
No. Oh, I'll get to that later. But the TSA does actually have policy regarding traveling with lightsabers. It's actually in their policy. TSA, official policy. Lightsabers. Wow. Yeah. There's a thing you can look it up on the TSA website. Yeah. How to travel with lightsabers. But so the marketplace was interesting, let's just say. We didn't get any of the food in there. And, they have things like Ronto wraps, which is a sausage and a pita. And it just, there's a lot of space dedicated to these large spits with meat on them spinning around heat. And I mean, it's fake. It's decoration, but it's supposed to look like it's a big bantha roast or something, right? But it didn't do anything to resemble Star Wars to me. When you just look at it, it's like this big, huge display.
Do they have characters work in those spits?
Now, hold on. I'm getting to that.
Okay.
But you have these big spits of meat, and it's like this giant display. And I'm like, there's park a TIE fighter there or something. It just didn't do it for me. So I walked around the side of it, and there working the, rotating the spits was the droid.
Well, I'm getting this vision of you getting into fisticuffs with the spit people.
No, it's not.
What is this doing here? Why don't you put a TIE fighter here, dude?
Well, no, I didn't. Listen, I'm just assessing. I wasn't
critiquing,
like protesting anything. I thought it was cool.
Not yet, at least.
I just think it's a lot of space devoted to something weird. These big, large spits of meat. Mm-hmm. But when you walk around the back, you discover who is working those controls, and it's 8D8, the droid from Jabbas Dungeon. Oh. And that got me excited because that was the one Star Wars thing happening there.
He was the white droid?
Yes.
The torture droid?
Yeah, the torture droid, right. That was him. Now he's, instead of torturing power droids, he's spinning meat over heat.
Oh, he could do both.
So now we know what happened to him.
Now we know what happened.
Yeah, they put an apron on.
So there he is. Or he might just be, the same make and model, not necessarily the same droid.
I like to think it's really him.
I do too, damn it.
I think we'll make that RFR cannon right there.
Because I said, I'm like 88. I swear, he looked at me and winked. So I knew.
Hey, Jimmy Mac.
But again, it's a huge display in the marketplace / eatery area that I just say could be devoted to something a little cooler than big pieces of meat. And again, I imagine a lot of this stuff is going to be refined over the years. Disneyland always tweaks its attractions and experiences. So I would imagine that, seeing the park here as it's only in its second month of operation is still, you're seeing a work in progress. Again, the Rise of the Resistance ride was not open yet. And that's another thing that I might think, I mentioned the attendance, and I think Disneyland is getting the same attendance numbers it always has as far as tourists go. But the factors here that might be making the park seem less populated is because they have shut out their annual pass holders until the month of September, I believe. So the main summer months, June, July, August, are all blacked out for annual pass holders, unless you have like the best tier, you know. So that's like 1 million people that are being denied entry into the park. And so that, I think they did that to alleviate what they thought was going to be a mad tourist rush for people to go see Galaxy's Edge right away. I don't know if that's necessarily happened, the mad tourist rush to go see Galaxy's Edge. People are just going to Disneyland just like they always go to Disneyland. It's certainly not a ghost land. It's certainly not deserted. But the crowds were manageable, and we enjoyed that. So I just wanted to clear that up. It's not like wall-to-wall people in Galaxy's Edge or basically anywhere else in the park unless everyone's gathering to watch a parade or a light show or fireworks. Then you run into some really dense crowds. But in Galaxy's Edge, you know, you were able to maneuver around comfortably, but it was still a crowd. You know, you were still waiting in line for stuff. You were still trying to wait until people were out of your picture so you can take a nice clean shot. It was all of that, you know. It was us. We were photobombing everyone there. It seemed like without even trying. So it's a perfect time.
Can you give us an idea of something that you saw that was, despite, I know you've been on somewhat of a high alert when it comes to spoilers on this, but was there something that just jumped out at you and just really left you kind of slack-jawed and just totally surprised?
Well,
something you just were not expecting?
Well, I mean, the obvious, of course, is when you approach the Millennium Falcon.
Well, that's not, you were expecting
yeah,
it.
Yeah. Okay, here's
but is it
one
still that profound? Is it that profound of a moment?
Yeah.
And even though you know what's coming, it still hits you?
Yeah. Yeah, because it's there, you know, and you could see it, all 360 degrees of it, and it is so film accurate. I mean, it looks like they just flew it out of there and parked it, you know, right out of the film and parked it at Disneyland. It's the word Wendy used to describe my reaction was awestruck. She said, "You were awestruck." And I feel it. I felt it then, and I still, you know, thinking back to it, I was like, wow, was that just amazing to actually be there and see it. You know, it's the Millennium Falcon, for crying out loud. And that really is what keeps the whole Star Wars land together. You know, that's the glue that keeps it all together. All points, all roads head toward the Falcon. And it's
in many ways, the heart of the saga is in that ship, and it's funny that it's also true at Galaxy's Edge.
There are neat little things to see around corners and stuff. I mean, all the doorways, you see all those panels, those electric panels, buttons and stuff, and it really is just right out of the films. Over by a restroom. There's this restroom that's by, even the restrooms are kind of themed to look like they're from that used universe. You know what I mean? And then, of course, we're putting our own use on it as well, which, that's a whole different universe. But there's this big TIE fighter there. I forget what they called it. It was a TIE fighter that was supposed to be in Episode 9. And whether or not it's going to be, I think that, that's still, we have to wait and see. But it's this big TIE fighter there. And just to the side of that, there are restrooms. And right by the restroom is this little area that I called the Droid Factory. And it's really cool. It's all of these different droids in different kind of... different extremes of construction, and so there's pieces around, and there's a probots on the wall, and that was just really cool to see. It's hard for me to describe this to you because it's nothing we've seen in the films before. But there were R2 units there and stuff, and I thought that was just a cool visual. Again, you'll be able to see all this in my video when it launches later this week. And I
now,
really like that.
How about characters? Did you see any of those walking around?
We saw a couple First Order Stormtroopers with a First Order officer, and they just roam around and come up to people and say stuff to them about, they'll see someone with their phone and they'll come up and say, "What are you doing with that data pad?" And it's pretty cool, and the voices sound really good. And I don't know if they're triggering some sort of vocal chip in their armor that makes them ask questions. Maybe someone is watching them on a camera and firing off things for these guys to say. Or maybe the actors are actually just saying it themselves. But it sounded consistently the same each and every time they would say something. "What are you doing with that data pad?" They'd ask the series of questions, "Disperse from this area." It was kind of neat to have that experience. And they're walking around. Kylo Ren was there, and Chewbacca, and Rey, and the new character, V. Marati, who is a resistance officer, and she's running around the place too. And I saw her interacting with some kids. They had their backs up against the wall, and they were behind the stormtroopers, and she had some really little kids with her, and she said, "All right, you're good at scaling the wall. Let's move over here where Kylo Ren won't see us." And and I just, oh, well, look how interactive this is all happening. And Wendy saw Chewbacca and was able to get a hug from Chewie, which was kind of cool. And we have photos of that at rebelforceradio.com.
Well, did they put on, I remember it, what do they call it now in Orlando? The studio portion of the
Hollywood
park?
Studios?
Hollywood Studios, yeah. They kind of had roving street performance type of stuff. Do they have that there?
They could use that.
Yeah.
It would be cool if they had like a Biff band, a Cantina band or something set up somewhere. It would be cool if they had more aliens walking around and stuff, but they really don't. It's really kept to a minimal.
Well, Chewie, I guess, constitutes a creature, but is he the only one? I mean, do they really not have any type of mask wearing?
Nothing at all. You go into one of the gift shops is called Doc Anders, and he is a hammerhead. And they have an animatronic hammerhead there behind this. He's in a cage, and like he's doing bookkeeping and stuff. I thought that was really cool. I really liked seeing him. I thought I would see stuff in the cantina. Olga's Cantina. Number one, there is no Olga in the cantina. There is an animatronic DJ Rex, which is Captain Rex, the original Captain Rex from Star Tours, was a droid voiced by Paul Rubens.
Oh, right.
The droid has now moved into the cantina and is the DJ spinning tunes. And it's Paul Rubens, and he's rapping and talking. He's setting up tunes and stuff. And the cantina was pretty interesting.
What kind of tunes is he? I mean, are they enjoyable?
Very Star Wars sounding. It really gives a good vibe to the whole place. It sort of has that cantina band vibe, maybe a little Lopty Neck influence here and there.
So he's not throwing on like techno.
No, and it's nothing you
rave
would
music or anything.
Nothing
like
you would recognize. A unique original soundtrack happening in that cantina. Maybe they'll release that music someday. But we went in there. We had our reservations. Myself, the boy, 2 droids, and no questions asked. Me, Wendy, Michael, and Dylan. Michael and Dylan, both still minors, so they were checking out some of the concoctions without alcohol. And here you go, Bill. I stole a menu if you want to take a look at it.
You stole this.
I did. I stole the
Everybody's
menu.
Ripping stuff off of this place.
I stole the menu, and I stole 4 coasters. So yeah. So we
Are you gonna make a display out of this?
Oh yeah,
This is
probably
kinda
there'll be a shrine, and we could stand and look at it and drink.
Well, I should describe this. This is like it's rectangular shape like most menus are, but the corners are cut off, so it gives it that unusual
The used look.
Oh, wait,
look.
It
yeah.
looks like somebody spilled a drink on it. What?
Now wait a minute. You're saying that all the corners have been snipped, so it's got kind of this octagonal look.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Didn't all the books in Battlestar Galactica have that look?
Oh boy. Oh,
I don't know. I don't remember.
Here we
Yeah.
go.
Did they?
Oh yeah, they totally did.
The original Battlestar?
Here, take a picture.
No, the remake. The remake. Yep.
Here, I'll send you a picture of it so you can see it.
Well, that's
Yeah, see, I don't like that. I don't like that they're aping Battlestar on that. Like Star Wars, Battlestar should ape Star Wars, not the other way around.
Well, aren't the what's the Han Solo game? Sabacc, is that what it is?
Yeah. Sabacc. Yeah, the cards. You're right.
Aren't they shaped
sort of
that way too?
Octagonal. Yeah, they are. Okay, so maybe there's prior art in the Star Wars camp for this. Okay,
I guarantee you're the first person to make that connection with the.
Happy to chime.
Oh my God! All right, do you have your iPad with you? I'll send you.
I do.
Some photos of this menu here, so you can play along at home. And I like to review some of these drinks if I can. Let's see here. What did we order? It was really weird. It had this fruit puree in it, and here it is. It was called the Outer Rim. Patron Silver Tequila. And a bunch of liqueurs, lime juice, black salt, and exotic fruit purees. And that was a $16 drink.
Wow.
I did not care for it. Not one bit. Now, here's my problem with a lot of these drinks in the cantina. They're concoctions, they call them. They're way too sweet. Way too sweet. And way overpriced. I mean, they do some classic Disney gouging to you when you set foot in the Galaxy's Edge. That's a big problem I have with that place, too. It's beyond what you normally find in the rest of Disney. They outprice even themselves. But let's run through some of these other drinks here. I did try the Bad Motivator IPA a couple times. That was quite good, and that was from the Sierra Nevada company. So it's not like... I don't know if that's being brewed exclusively for Galaxy's Edge, but the Bad Motivator IPA, Tropical India Pale Ale with Galaxy and Comet hops. It just tasted like a beer to me. And so I don't know if that's exclusive, but I did like that. Some of the concoctions without alcohol. Okay, obviously everyone talks about the Blue Bantha. Blue milk served chilled with Bantha-inspired vanilla butter sugar cookie. Michael Mack had that. I had a sip of it. I thought it was good. Again, a little too sweet. Michael loved it. Michael absolutely loved it. Couldn't get enough blue
sorry,
milk.
I have to interrupt. I got to get out.
Okay.
So I hate to jet, but
All
family's
good.
heading to the beach. So
all right. Hey,
I'm
listen.
heading out with them.
You have a good one,
Yeah,
and give our
I
best
can't wait
to the
to hear
family.
more about Galaxy's Edge, Jim. I'll be listening to this week's show. Sorry I can't be there. Thanks for letting me jump
you know
on.
what? It's great you were able to actually jump on for a few minutes. So enjoy your vacation. We'll catch up with you next week when
Yes.
RFR we'll resume our regular programming schedule next week to kick off August. And this is the only RFR for this week. I'm yet to say that. So this is going to be it as we're currently celebrating summer hours. Jason at the beach. I guarantee you won't be getting in the water. I guarantee it.
Oh, I'm in the water. I get in the water, up to my ankles.
Up to the
You go out past knees, and there are sharks in there.
Oh, come on, dude. Grab your board, man. Go hang tag.
Yeah, right.
And just remember, it's rough, it's coarse, gets everywhere.
Sure does. All right, fellas.
See you,
Take it easy,
Jason.
buddy.
Force be with you. See ya.
You
Later.
too. Later.
All right.
I don't like sand.
Jason Swank. enjoying the summer sun. That I think that's a first. I don't think we've ever had anyone
from
co-host a segment from.
You got the lifeguard whistle going on in the background there and stuff. I picture him sitting there with one of those tropical drinks made out of a pineapple. With the umbrella in it and stuff.
Okay, speaking of drinks, let's get back to Olga's Cantina.
See what I did there?
I did. That was nice. A nice little handoff there. The blue milk. Michael was crazy about the blue milk, and so we also had the Carbon Freeze was sold out, which is a Powerade based drink, lemon lime Powerade with green apple popping pearls. We did not try that. We did try the Hyperdrive Punch It, which is another Powerade-based drink, Mountain Berry Blast with white cranberry juice. And this also had black cherry puree, which is just kind of like this clump of, it's almost like a yogurty sort of thing that floats on top of the drink. I didn't care for it. For me, it didn't do anything for me. I thought it was kind of gross. I mean, when you go to take a drink out of something and you get a little bit of a different texture to the liquid, I don't know. So I would pass on that one. I believe we also tried the Yub Nub, which is Malibu pineapple rum and Sailor Jerry spiced rum. I don't know what Sailor Jerry rum is, but citrus juices and passion fruit. That was actually okay. Again, very sweet, but okay. For the most part, if I ever go back, and I know I will go back to Olga's Cantina, I will be sticking with the beers on tap. But I think it's worth experimenting if you're into sweet drinks and concoctions with or without alcohol. Right. I see.
Well, they get points for creativity, that's for sure.
Bill, they do have wine there. I know you kind of enjoy
I do.
Nice glass of wine. You can choose from the Tonneray and the Imperial Guard. What year is that Imperial Guard? Oh, that's a great year. We did try the snack that they have at the cantina. It's called Batu Bites or Batu Bits. A light, crisp snack mix from the galaxy. $8. You certainly don't get your money's worth with this stuff, and it's a lot of wasabi peas and sugary coated pretzel type things. And I would say avoid the Batu Bits. But you know what? I do have to say the presentation of the Batu Bits is something like you would have seen out of Star Wars. When they opened the door at Cloud City and Vader's there at that table. Yeah. We would be honored if you would join us. Haven't you ever freeze framed that moment and said, what the hell's on that table? What are they eating there?
Well, not that particular way, but the food is very unusual in Star Wars, if you stop and look at it.
Yeah.
So, but what about the ambiance in this place? Are you sitting at a bar?
Okay. Sitting?
Yeah.
There's no bar stools. You're standing at the bar.
Oh, really?
You're standing at the bar, and there are some upright tables that you can also stand at.
Okay.
So
probably to get people moving through.
Yeah, they want to move people through. Now, there are booths that seat 6, maybe 7, maybe even up to 8. But those typically go to your larger groups, of course. So I would recommend, if you're making your reservations at Galaxy's Edge, to get as large a group as possible. 6 people is perfect. You'll get yourself a booth, maybe.
So where were you guys? Did you have a booth?
When I went with the family, we were standing at the bar. And that was fine. That was fun. At one point, this machine behind the bar, you'd have to assume it was some sort of intergalactic drink dispenser, all of a sudden starts making all this noise and a big ruckus and everything. And one of the bartenders goes over to it and starts pounding it with a hammer. And it starts working again, and everyone cheers. That was fun. Like little things like that, but it wasn't too overwhelming. I think that they could have added even a little bit more flavor. I thought there would be, because the way they describe it, they say, this is a high-action environment. And, there's a lot of people and there's a lot of music, but But I was expecting maybe something of a light show happening in there, or some sort of interaction going on with the room itself. I'm not saying levels of the tiki room where the whole room comes to life, but I just thought maybe there would be some alien head would pop up out of from behind the bar or something, go, whatever. I don't know.
That would be funny. Or could you imagine a confrontation between some
stuff like that?
If they had aliens in there,
I would
pistol
love
fight or something along those lines.
Or just, they have the stormtroopers walk through and harass you. Now, that may actually happen, but it didn't happen the two times I was there. And if it is going to happen, it should happen every 45 minutes. So, because that's the window you have. You have a 45-minute window per your reservation and a 2-drink maximum.
Mm-hmm. But what about the lighting and the overall mood of the place? I mean, did
fantastic,
it strike
amazing,
you as
incredible
Star Wars?
Yes, and yes. But I just would have liked to have seen some aliens in there or something, just something. Outside of the DJ Rex animatronic is really cool. But just I kind of wanted to see something else happen in there. And the room itself, I thought, would have been much larger. There's a lot of bars that I go to, theme bars here in the city of Chicago, that are much larger than this place. And,
did you feel cramped?
Yes, it's a little crowded.
Yeah.
Especially when we first got in there, it was a little crowded. They brought 4 of us in there, and there was really only room for 2 to stand at the bar.
Mm.
And so I let the kids go up there first. And then other people started spreading out and leaving and stuff. And so we would take our space. We were standing at the bar for 5 to maybe even 10 minutes before anyone even acknowledged us.
Yeah.
Now, I know from watching the show Bar Rescue on the Paramount Network that host John Taffer,
shut it down.
He would lose his mind.
He would go crazy over that. Yeah.
If he was doing surveillance on a bar and saw the bartenders not even come over and say hello. So I was a little put off by that, especially when you consider you're dealing with a 45-minute window. It's like, come on, chop, let's go. But then, the bartender was very nice. The service was fantastic once it finally happened.
Mm-hmm.
And I was under the impression that we could have probably got served a 3rd drink. They seemed more than willing to serve it, but we left. I think the boys wanted to get on that Falcon ride, so their patience was starting to run thin, and quite honestly, so was mine. I had to get on that sucker myself. But all in all, I highly recommend Olgas Cantina, and I hope we'll go through a series of tweaks to make it even more interactive than it already is. Give you more of a show.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm not saying go tiki room on the place, but hey, maybe a little something.
It's bound to.
Fantastic environment,
see things
though.
changing over the years.
Oh, of course.
No question.
So that was amazing. Incredible environment, incredible experience. Yeah, it really does. You get it's an immersive experience. Going to Galaxy's Edge. It's an immersive experience.
Now, I heard did I hear right? Now, I have to be honest. I'm totally avoiding, like you, the videos. I don't even want to look at pictures of the place.
Right.
I'm like that with concerts. I'm like that with Disney parks in general. I like to just go and experience it. But I did hear, are there no signs? Is that true? Or everything's in the Star Wars alphabet?
That is true. However, you will see signs that aren't so obvious that are in the Star Wars type of lettering, let's just say, but it's in English. So it'll say restrooms. And so they don't leave you guessing.
Scoundrels. Princesses. Or does it actually say men, ladies?
No. Yeah, I don't.
Well,
it's pretty obvious which one to go into.
I mean, in a way, that sounds like a lot of fun. That things aren't all marked, and you could discover things on your own. But on the other hand, I can also see that being kind of confusing if you're looking for something. Right?
Pretty obvious. The cantina.
Is it obvious?
The cantina. It says Cantina. overhead.
Okay.
And also at nighttime, I noticed it's easier to sort of see things because it all lights up. So it sticks out a little more. But, yeah, so Olga's Cantina, I'm giving a favorable review to Olga's Cantina. For myself personally, I felt like some of those drinks were a little too sugary, and I prefer a beer, so I was good in there. Definitely, I did try to interact with the bartender at one point, though, because instead of giving you a check, like at the end, they give you a check for every round you get. So I had signed... because we were using credit cards, I had signed off on the bill, and I put it in this cup, and then they come by and they take the cup with your receipt and everything. And I didn't realize that he had put another receipt in front of me to sign, another check to sign, and because I had just done it.
Yeah.
And I said, I just did it. He goes, oh, no. This is for the next round. I'm like, oh, I see how you guys do it. I said, all right, okay. I thought you were trying to pull a fast one on me. And you better be careful because I do shoot first, all right? And I looked at him and he's just like, yeah, guy, whatever. And I'm like, oh, damn it. I thought he was going to interact with me. Wendy was there. She saw me go down in flames.
That's like, you remember that scene in Vacation where they go to like Dodge or something, Tombstone or something, and Chevy Chase is giving the bartender all kinds of crap, and he suddenly pops up with a shotgun.
Hey, knucklehead, set us up with 4 red eyes, will you?
Hey, Yellow Belly, I'm talking to you.
Hey, Tenderfoot, move your chicken wings, turkey.
Clark, that's not nice.
It's all part of the act, hon. Hey, underpants. Hey, Yellow. I'm okay. I'm okay.
Yeah, it was kind of like that. Yeah, I was surprised the guy didn't go underneath the counter and come up with a iron cannon, something, I don't know. But yeah. So I didn't get that kind of level of interaction. Very impressed with the turnover that this bar is doing. Again, I watch Bar Rescue, so I get kind of an idea how much money per square foot they should be making in a day. And these guys are making a lot of money. Let me just say.
Running a bar is a science.
Yeah,
that's what we learned from that show.
Wow, Olga's Cantina. So, yes, definitely go to Olga's Cantina. Oh, and good news. I think it just happened this week where... for myself, being there earlier in the week, we would have to make our reservations for Olga's when the app opened up for that day. So at 7 a.m. every morning, I had to make these reservations. And when you're on vacation, sometimes you want to sleep in a little. But no, my alarm clock was set, and I got up and made reservations for Olga's Cantina for the first day. And for the second day, I made reservations for Savvy's Workshop, where we created lightsabers. And I'll get to that in a minute. But now you can make your reservations, I believe, up to 14 days in advance. So go for it. Definitely go for it. You got to go to the cantina. They have, little aquariums that have the frog dog in there from Jabba's Palace.
Oh, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, you see that. That frog dog shows up quite a bit in Galaxy's Edge, which I thought was kind of curious. I would have liked to have seen more R2 units than frog dogs.
Well, now so there's a creature. So they have an aquarium and it's moving around in there, or
it just kind of sits there. I think his gullet expands, or whatever that part of the frog is. His gullet.
I don't know.
I don't know what they call
throat part of it. Yeah.
At Doc Onder's shop, there are some little interesting things on display. A lot of interesting things on display. But most notably, there is a Sarlacc pit, an infant Sarlacc pit in a glass case. And it's alive. And you can hear the story about how Doc Onder picked that thing up, how he acquired it in the Marvel Comics Galaxy's Edge miniseries, which has been a hoot to read after actually being at Galaxy's Edge, I have to say. I'm also listening to an audio book right now.
So are the baby Sarlaccs really cute?
Yeah. Yeah, here, I'll show you. You want to see? I shot video.
Okay.
It'll be part of my big video thing.
See, I almost don't even want to see.
Oh, I couldn't believe it. But you have to see this.
Yeah,
I have to show you this because it's so wacky. And like I said, this is going to be part of my big through the eyes of Jimmy Mack. Okay, like, look, here's a frog dog. See, and then he's just sitting there. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's cool. Okay, that's the frog dog. So there he is. Here's the Sarlacc pit. Look at that. And look, it's moving.
Oh.
Isn't that weird? And then you pull back and you see it's in a case, this big glass, and that's the bottom part of it. Yeah.
So you can see the rest of the
Isn't that weird?
Yeah. So wait, I mean that was very brief, but from what I could see there, you could see beneath the surface like an ant farm, so you could see the rest of the Sarlacc.
Yes, it's hilarious.
Oh, that's crazy.
And I'm sure, people are listening to this show and be like, oh, I saw a video of that on YouTube 2 months ago. But you know what? This is the first time I'm seeing it. So you gotta roll with me. I'm not breaking news here, okay? I'm just
I never heard about
recapping my trip.
But like I said, I'm not really looking too much. But I haven't heard about that. That's cool.
So and that's in Doc Onder's shop. And they have all kind of cool things you could get in there to customize your lightsaber. You can buy cool lightsaber hilts in there for $100 a piece, pretty much. And there's so much stuff on the walls and just everywhere. It's called Doc Onder's Den of Antiquities. And it has, sliding blast doors you go through to get in and out. It's amazing. It's just really.
Oh, and those things actually work well? I mean, do they just open and close real quick?
During the daytime, in the busier hours, they prop it open all day.
Mm-hmm.
So when I went back at night, I noticed it was opening and closing. I was like, wow, it does that.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's because that's one of those mechanical things that they always had problems with, I think, on the original movie. They would just get cables and yank them open and stuff.
Or have guys just pulling on it.
Right.
And making that sound. So, all right, well, let's get to the big event here that's in Galaxy's Edge, and that, of course, is Smuggler's Run. Smuggler's Run, the Millennium Falcon ride. Wait times were approximately posted to be an hour long. But I think we made it through the line in about 40 to 45 minutes. It's one of those big winding queues where you go into different rooms and different areas and look at all kind of cool stuff. Now, very similar to Star Tours, where they have you sort of looking at Star Tours, it would have been, all the activity at the starport, so they're scanning luggage and, doing all kind of things. Here at the Smuggler's Run, it's more like an auto shop. It's more like they're doing maintenance. At one point, you queue around a big, what looked like to me a single pod race engine, and then every so often it will emit steam and make noises, and the flaps will start moving around and stuff. And you hear these voices on the intercoms. We definitely picked out James Arnold Taylor's voice a few times. We picked out D. Bradley Baker's voice for sure. And they're just, like technicians talking about the items that they're working on and stuff. And again, I think there is more room to grow as far as this queue goes. There's interesting stuff going on. Most interesting, though, is that you go up and around the Millennium Falcon itself, and so you're seeing it through these windows from up high, up above it, and it's just a nice view where you can see all the detail work and stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
So you really get that 360 with the Falcon.
I always thought that was cool in the original movie when they're escaping from the Death Star and they stop at one point and they're overlooking it.
It's much like that.
You get that vibe.
Junk? You came in this piece of junk?
Yeah. You came in that thing?
That thing? That's what she said. You
nice.
Came in that thing? Nice. Come on. So yeah, you look at it from that perspective, and then you walk around. There's like droids and stuff.
Well, I'll never forget that we went to California. I want to say late '80s. Do you remember that?
Yeah, of course. It was 1980. I want to say 88.
And I think they had just opened that.
Star Tours, right? Well, Star Tours specifically had been open for about a year at that point.
And I still have some photos just from the queue line because I was like, it was just great to see droids they had like broken down R5 droids, and I think the chess table was in there someplace. And,
very similar experience.
And then 3PO was there, kind of narrating stuff as you queued in. But that was the first time I had ever seen any like Star Wars stuff up close. Just like a real droid.
In Florida, it was such a thrill going to Star Tours the first time and approaching the queue, and that life-size AT-AT is there.
Right.
And
I think I've got a picture of you underneath that. Or me.
Foot.
I can't remember who did that. Yeah.
Underneath the foot.
Yeah. But that's the queue can be a great opportunity, and 45-minute wait is not long, but it's nice to be able to have stuff to look at while you're there and get you in the mood. And
absolutely, it was really cool. Again, I think there's room to grow, but what they've done so far is just outstanding. Then you go into this room, and it's like a holding area before you actually board the Falcon itself. Now, you're not boarding the Falcon that's on display out there in the park. That's a prop.
Sure.
But they do everything to make you feel like you're boarding the Falcon, except one thing. I thought you would go up the ramp. You never go up the ramp. I wanted to go up the ramp.
Yeah.
I wish that they use that somehow as the entrance into the actual ride area itself, because you stand in this holding room and this animatronic Hondo Ohnaka sort of sets the stage for the story and why the Falcon is there, why he's there. And you see the Falcon fly in through these windows behind Hondo. It's amazing. And he's up there, and he's like one of the slickest animatronics I've ever seen. He's natural moving and everything. And Jim Cummings does a great job with the script, as he always does, and bringing that character to life. But you see the Falcon fly, all the sounds and stuff, and you see it. It's, the Falcon is there. And then Chewbacca comes up on the screen, and Chewie's in there, and he's working on something in the Falcon, and Hondo interacts with Chewie, and it's just cool as hell. I couldn't believe it. Then you walk into the Falcon. Okay, so you just go through a doorway, and then you're on the main hold of the Falcon. You are there. You see the sick bay where Chewie was laying after he got shot in The Force Awakens. The chess table is there. You sit at the chess table, photo ops galore.
Oh, really?
Han's workstation is there with the chair, everything.
And you can sit down.
You walk all around
and take
it.
pictures and stuff?
Unfortunately, yes, it's great. Unfortunately, the first time we were in there, they basically gave us 2 seconds. We walked through it, and they Hondo needs to talk to you. They're saying, I'm like, I want to sit down.
Screw Hondo.
Exactly. I'm in the main hold of the Millennium Falcon.
Oh man,
you're rushing me up to talk to a Clone Wars character. Come on.
And they've got
40 plus years of connection to this environment. You're rushing me through it.
No, do they have the ambient sounds going in there and stuff?
No stone was left unturned. You really feel like you are there, man. You are there. And luckily, the second time I went on the ride, I had a little more time in that main hold. So
yeah, that sounds sweet.
So I wasn't too despondent over it, but I was just like, "What the hell, man? We just got here." So you're outside of the cockpit in the hallway there, and you know where you are, man. You know where you are.
Yeah.
Nobody has to explain anything to you. And so you look on a screen, and Hondo is there, and he explains what everyone has to do. And you sit there, 2, 3,
in the cockpit. But you go down that like circular hallway.
Yes,
you do that.
Yes, and that's where there's a view screen there, little one on the wall. Dylan's like, you could never see this in the movie. Because Han, the way they would shoot the angles, Han would be running in or out.
Right.
So it seems perfectly appropriate. There could be some sort of communication screen there on the wall, and that's where Hondo is, and he's like, pilots, you fly the ship. Gunners, you play the part. He's just going through all this, you guys shoot the grappling hooks. And so then we're in there. It's like, holy crap, we're in here. The first time I went on the ride, everything happened so fast. I mean, so fast. I couldn't believe it. So you're in there, and I was piloting with Dylan. Dylan was sitting in Han Solo's seat. I was sitting in the Wookiee seat, which you might think that the Han Solo seat is the one to sit in.
Mm-hmm.
Nope.
I would.
You sit in the co-pilot seat because the co-pilot is the one who pulls back on the gear shift to make the jump into light speed. So you want to do that. And everyone's yelling and screaming.
Now, does that match up with the movie? I forget. Like if you look, is that
it's
Chewie?
It's the thing. They reach up and they pull on that thing.
But is
no,
it Chewie? Is Chewie? Yeah, I thought Han.
Yeah, but the way they have it set up here is Chewie does it, and so you sit there and you have this thing. The Chewie goes up and down, and the Han joystick goes left and right.
Okay,
maybe I have that backwards. I can't remember, but. So you're trying to work in tandem. Buttons light up, and you hit these buttons, and things happen.
How many? The cockpit fits how many people?
6.
So is everybody doing something in there?
Yes. Now you have the gunners who are sitting behind the pilots. They have buttons that they're hitting to fire the guns and stuff. It was so funny because Wendy was, I don't know what role it is, the tech or whatever, but she was working the grappling hooks, and you hear Hondo talking to you, giving you instruction. He goes, you know, when you have to pick up the coaxium, it's based on Solo, and you have to pick up the coaxium, and Hondo says, hit the grappling hooks. And then I yelled, I'm there, I'm going, grappling hooks. And I hear Window in the back, I'm on it. And then boom, and then we're all yelling and screaming, and you blow. Oh, God, it's so great. I don't know how much you're actually controlling. Right. Because Dylan's like, hey, you know, I let go for about half a minute there, and it was doing stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I know. But, you know, I think there is a certain degree of control you can exert over the program.
There was a great, I got to dig it up. There was a great episode of Community years ago with Donald Glover, and it kind of made fun of that whole flight simulation ride thing. It was a Kentucky Fried Chicken spaceship or something they found at an old amusement park. Hilarious. But it was very obvious what it wanted you to do. But
so this, I mean, it's just, but
I mean, what if you do? I want to know what happens when you do stuff wrong. Like, if you.
Well, it's hard to tell.
Sometimes that's more fun than actually doing it the right way.
Yeah, I mean, you bang around and stuff. There's at least one crash landing. There's all kind of things that happen. But the main gist of it is you're chasing this train, and you're trying to get these coaxium containers. And we ended up with 2 or 3. Each time we did it.
Yeah.
The first time we did it, we thought we were extremely victorious. We were walking out there, we're high-fiving and stuff, and the cast member is standing right outside with the arms folded, shaking her head, and she goes, thanks for beating up my ship. And it's like, oh, we suck. We must suck at this. So then I discovered that if you do well enough, you get a bonus level and you fly through an asteroid. So you fly through this asteroid field.
Well, okay. So talk about the visuals a little bit. So what you're seeing out the cockpit window is
you know, it's like you chase the train and you go, you know, you're flying and.
But I mean, is the quality of it like full 360?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're just looking and you're like, I can't believe I am staring out the windows of the Millennium Falcon cockpit. You just can't believe you're actually there.
And is it all in space?
Or no. Like I said, you fly in, you go after this train, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, really, making the jump to light speed. Danny Bonaducci's favorite part of the movie.
No, why now?
And we required, outside of the libations at Olga's Cantina, we didn't require much to get off pretty hard when the Falcon made the jump to light speed. It was amazing. Oh, God.
Yeah, that sounds
awesome.
I
can't even tell you how incredible it is.
And how's the motion in there?
Not too bad. Not too bad. I don't know if it has to do with you're so concerned with hitting the buttons and pulling the levers and stuff, but it's not as intense as Star Tours. I'll say that. I definitely did not find it to be as intense as Star Tours. There's one part you crash in a hangar. You sort of slam down on it. And that's, kind of a forceful, I mean, you feel it. But, I mean, it's just the excitement of being there and flying the Falcon. And it's like when you're driving a car sometimes, it's the driver usually doesn't get the motion sickness. It's the passenger.
Right.
Right? I think that comes into play a little bit here when you're riding Smugglers.
But it's enough to be thrilling, right?
Oh,
I mean,
dude,
you get the full on.
Oh my God,
the illusion of movement is there, right?
It's there. It's there. Oh, it's there. It is there. Like I said, didn't feel as intense as Star Tours, but again, you have so much distracting you while it's all going on. But I think overall, it's a better ride for people who would suffer from motion
normally get,
sickness. Wendy didn't have a problem with it. We talked to Steve Sansweet, and I know Steve sometimes doesn't like stuff like that. That's too intense, and he had no problem with Smuggler's Run. So,
and how did the boys react?
Oh man, everyone was on cloud nine. It was just like a great bonding moment for the family.
Yeah, that's cool.
It was a lot of fun, and there were a couple other people on the ride with us, but I think we had the first 4 seats there. So, it was amazing, very immersive, and very Star Warsy. The whole thing, very Star Warsy. I've heard a lot of complaints, and I may even have been guilty of doing some of that during this review, that there are elements of Galaxy's Edge that should have more of a closer connection to Lucas-era stuff, original trilogy and prequels. And I believe that. I think that the idea of it being so immersive that your brain can't register the fact that Darth Vader is standing on this side of the park and First Order Stormtroopers and Kylo Ren are on that side of the park. How immersive is it going to be when you turn around and you bump into some schlub wearing a Los Angeles Dodgers jersey with ketchup and mustard stains all over it? Talk about taking you out of it.
Yeah.
I mean, so that's the thing. I just think there's too much hand-wringing over the fact that this needs to be part of, locked into the sequel era. I think they're missing a big part of the prize.
Well, but what about
stuff?
The notion that it is focused on this era essentially temporarily because of the upcoming movie? So as a promotional tool.
Well, like I said, there's
and
always
that
room.
Afterwards they can. Yeah. I mean, that's always the beauty about the Disney parks, right? Is that they can expand and adapt.
Yeah, I think they will. I think that, they just locked in on something to launch the thing. But I would love to see more inclusion of original trilogy and prequel trilogy aesthetic, characters, etc. Now, that being said, they parked the Millennium Falcon at Disneyland, okay? That's more than enough for me to get the family on an airplane and fly 2,000 miles.
Right.
Just by putting the Falcon there alone. To me, everything else is window dressing for the Millennium Falcon. So the Falcon is there. Go. What else do you need?
Yeah. Well, they know that. I mean, that's the crown jewel. Yeah, no question.
It is the crown jewel. And this Rise of the Resistance ride, which I think a lot of more hardcore fans are holding out. They don't want to make the trip to Disney. The hardcore fans who have to travel, not the locals, but the hardcore ones are saying, I'll hold off on my trip to Disney until they open up the Rise of the Resistance ride. Because you do feel like the park definitely needs another attraction in it.
Yeah.
And that Rise of the Resistance ride promises to be amazing. It's going to be 28 minutes long, a nice big long ride. Are you familiar with what's going to be going? What I figure Rise of the Resistance is going to be like the big movie ride that they used to have at Hollywood Studios.
Yeah.
Where you ride.
Is that no longer
things.
there?
No, that's gone now. Yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of like a tram ride. Yeah, that had some cool stuff.
And you ride through different scenes from movies with animatronics, and and sets and everything. And so I imagine that it'll be like that, but just all Star Wars and much higher tech too. But I bet you anything they have some real life acting going on in there with the animatronics and videos and all that. That may have already been announced. There was a Galaxy's Edge panel at Star Wars Celebration that I should probably review. I've actually been there.
Yeah, no, I know nothing about that ride except the title. I knew that there's no ride coming. So is that the format? Did they actually confirm that, or does anybody know what the ride is?
Yeah, that's just what it looks like to me. And from what little information I have gotten, at this point. But I mean, I know there's more information out there than what I have. So, and that will have life-size AT-ATs in there shooting at you. So I think that'll be pretty amazing. And so I think a lot of people are holding out, and that's why Disney isn't getting the massive fan rush. I think Disney overestimated the amount of people that would be going there to see Galaxy's Edge specifically.
Yeah.
I think they thought that Star Wars fans would be booking their flights and flying in the moment that park opened up. And they did. I mean, during that reservation period, it was pretty packed, and a lot of people were there for the big opening and everything. But once it opened up to the rest of the park, it just became part of the rest of the park. People still go to Disneyland to go to Disneyland.
Right.
I don't think there are that many people going to Disneyland because they have to go to Galaxy's Edge. They just consider it part of the overall experience. People go to Disneyland because they want to go to Galaxy's Edge just as much as they want to go to Pirates of the Caribbean or Splash Mountain. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, no, being a Star Wars fan, no. I don't understand that kind of thinking.
I can say this because I was there for 2 days.
Yeah.
Did I spend every minute of both 2 days at Galaxy's Edge? Hell no. Hell no. Because I love the Haunted Mansion. We want to go on all those classic rides.
Yeah.
Now, I imagine for the locals, when they get in there, they're all going to just hang in Galaxy's Edge all day. It's going to be super packed. That's my prediction. That in September, the summer rush will die down a little bit, but there's still tourism dollar flowing into Anaheim at that time of year. And so I imagine that it'll be crowded in there.
I predict we'll probably reach a point where the place will be completely saturated with crowds, and then we'll be going, God, remember how great it was?
That's what I'm thinking.
When it opened and there was elbow room in this joint.
That's what I'm thinking.
And the line, the wait was only 40 minutes.
When we booked this trip, I was thinking the opposite. I was like, this is the hot new thing at Disney, and it's going to be crowded and packed, and it's going to be impossible to navigate anywhere in the whole park, much less just Galaxy's Edge. I thought it was going to be massively crowded. And with the addition of 20% more space, it's alleviated some of the pressure in other parts of the park, clearly, and made it much more manageable, much more value for your dollar. The ability to go on more rides in a single day without having to upgrade to some fast pass or whatever.
Yeah. I bet it's going to be a different story in Orlando.
I think it's going to be totally different in Orlando.
Yeah.
Orlando fueled by tourism dollar primarily.
When are they opening that?
At the end of August.
Oh, okay. So that's...
Yeah. But they won't have Rise of the Resistance either.
Yeah.
So... it's hard to say. I think that's the where you're going to see.
Is that now? Do they have it connected to the Magic Kingdom there in Orlando?
No,
or is it like its own?
No, it's part of MGM Hollywood. Well, they don't call it that anymore. Just the Disney Hollywood.
Oh,
Studios.
okay.
Yeah. You remember the Streets of America and that part of the park?
Wasn't that right at the beginning?
Beyond? No.
Where they had like the old gas station and stuff.
No, that's like their Main Street or whatever.
Yeah.
No, the Streets of America it looked like New York. Like there was, it looked like a film set. It looked like a back lot.
Okay.
And they would do their light show, their Christmas light show would happen there. And we had some RFR fan listener meetups there. And actually recorded a show from one of those fake the facade of a front porch and a doorway. We actually recorded a show there once. So that's all gone. That's all become part of Galaxy's Edge.
I see.
They took out some other things back in the back there, built out into the parking lot a little bit.
Yeah.
And they're building the hotel there. So for me, I will go back to Orlando for Galaxy's Edge after the hotel and Rise of the Resistance is open. But that might be a couple of years. We'll have to see how that all plays out. For now, we have plans to go to Galaxy's Edge at Disneyland, August 2020. Me, and Swank.
During Celebration.
That's right. And we will go there and hang, and we have a day blocked off for just that. So you guys will be able to check it all out. But more things to talk about. You know, we did do the lightsaber building. The second day, myself and the boys, along with our friend Jeff Ellis, we met up with some people on the second day. We met up with Jeff Ellis and his partner David. Dylan and Michael were with me. Wendy stayed back at the hotel for a spa day. And we were with David Sparks, Max Sparky, and his wife Daisy. And what a great couple those two guys are. I mean, talk about, they almost felt like our Disneyland mom and dad because they're locals and they go there all the time. And Daisy has some connection with the park. And so David is a junkie. He's a Galaxy's Edge junkie.
Yeah, I've heard him on the show, man. I met him in Orlando.
Yes.
And both of them, actually.
Yeah.
Yes. Sparky and Daisy. Yeah, very nice people.
Yes, very nice. So we all hung out together and went to Savvy's workshop and built the sabers. And that's really cool. You get 4 different varieties of sabers to choose from, which you want to build. I chose one that was more traditionally like a saber you would see on screen. The boys got the Old Republic type sabers, which are pretty cool because they have like Jedi hieroglyphics etched into it and stuff. It just looks older. It looks, more like an ancient relic, while my saber looks more like something you would see a member of the Jedi Council using. Then you also had your dark side sabers to choose from. And what was the other? Oh, and then one that I think it was like based on elemental stuff, like nature, where you could build a saber out of a horn, of a beast and stuff, make it look real, like natural. Dylan was originally going to go for that natural look. I think he wanted with the like a saber carved out of a bone or something. I don't know. But then he inspected the pieces.
Yeah.
They let you inspect the pieces while you're waiting to go in. And Dylan was dissatisfied with the plastic quality of the pieces that you use. Well, because everything else was all metal.
Right.
But the things that are supposed to simulate a bone or a tusk, that's all plastic. Hard plastic, durable, it felt to me. But Dylan felt like he wasn't getting his value.
Sure.
So he opted for the all-metal Old Republic saber. So they walk you in there.
Yeah, I mean, it's good that they have options, but that is hard to pass up just doing a traditional metal heavy saber, I mean, plastics vary in quality. I mean, there is very high quality plastic. I mean, there's no doubt, but
okay, so they put you in this room, and a cast member is in Jedi-esque robes, not full on. There are no full on Jedi anywhere in Batuu. You don't get that. She is dressed like a Batuu derivative of Jedi robes, I would say. She had a Jedi Knight vibe about her. And she walked us through this, told us the story of the saber. And while she's doing all of this, and she talks about the legend of Luke Skywalker and the New Hope Rey, I was just like, just talk about Luke. But they're playing into that part of the timeline. It was almost as like the kids at the end of The Last Jedi. And the one kid sitting there and they got their little toys they're crudely constructed toys, and he's telling the legend of Luke Skywalker, right? So she was perfectly capturing that vibe.
Yeah, okay.
I felt like one of the kids sitting there listening to that other kid tell
the mythology. Yeah.
So, I mean, excellent job of capturing that. And what made it even better is there's a soundtrack playing behind her. And as she would talk about the different crystals, she would hold up blue crystal, and the whole room would turn, like the lights would change to blue and purple.
Oh, cool.
As she was doing it. It was all perfectly timed. It was great. They stayed in character the whole time, and then they bring out these trays based on the saber design you had chosen previously. And the way they know which saber design you've chosen is they give you exclusive pins that you wear. So
now, are you sitting at a table?
Standing at a round table, like a big, large oval. And so we're wearing these exclusive pins. So if you're a Disney pin collector, and I know there are many hardcore Disney pin collectors, you need to be aware that you get exclusive pins at Savvy's Workshop, but you have to pay the $200 entry fee. All right. So myself, my boys, and Jeff were there, and you can bring guests. So Jeff's partner, David, Max Sparky, and Daisy, they were there, and we built these sabers. And it's just like, it's all, you get 2 choices for each part, and the saber is constructed out of 5 parts. And you put together, it just all screws together. It's no big deal. But the coolest part is when you're done, you place it into this container on the table, and the container closes. And
now I'm trying to understand. Is there only one way to put the saber together?
Yeah.
So they give you
it.
Okay,
together.
so you don't have
very easy. You're not soldering and
right. But you've chosen a design. They don't give you like a bunch of options of parts, right? I mean, at that point, it's pretty much
you get there are 5 parts, and you have 2 choices per part. So you say, I want that one and that one and that.
Okay.
So it's not,
yeah. All right. You said that. I didn't quite.
You can customize your saber with greeblies and doodads that you could pick up at Doc Onder's Den of Antiquities.
Oh, I see. Oh, that's kind of cool. That's an interesting idea.
Also, you choose your Kyber crystal. I chose blue, and it was real cool too because the cast member came up to me and she was like, Fitting, very fitting, very. It's all of this. I love the whole thing.
You felt special.
I love the whole thing. And so then you put your saber into this container, and then all of a sudden, the lights go down, and then all the sabers light up, and the container automatically opens up, and everyone lifts up their saber at the same time. It was just great. I mean, just goosebumps. Awesome bonding moment with me and my sons. And here, Billy Mack.
Oh.
No one else has ever held this before, but this.
It's your brother's lightsaber.
My brother's lightsaber. Here it is. Check it out.
This is the weapon of Jimmy Mack.
It's got a little weight to it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, this is cool.
Sturdy.
This is definitely, Obi-Wan-esque, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And then, do you get a blade for it?
Yeah, there is a blade that, it's great. The blade is removable.
Oh,
and
I could see I could see something flashing in there.
Turn it on. It's just flip this switch right here.
Oh,
dude, hold it up to the mic. I want to hear that.
There we go.
So that it's not functioning because it doesn't have the blade. So when it has the blade, it gives you the humming sounds and all that you traditionally get from these sabers. But the blade is removable, which I liked, and they give you a bag for the blade that you with the strap and everything. It looks like, kind of like a poster tube.
And you got the little clip here, so you can wear it on your belt.
Yeah. Dylan got a different clip on his. His is magnetic and snaps into a belt buckle thing.
Now, where's the crystal?
The crystal's inside the saber.
Can you pop it open?
Well, okay, let me see. I've never taken it apart yet. Yeah, here. So, look, it just...
Oh.
You just loosen that part. And
unscrew it in the middle.
Loosen this part. I forget. Dylan's done it. I have not. And I am all thumbs with this. Okay, here we go. I think this is how it works.
He's unscrewing. No, wrong side.
Well, it's in the middle here, and so I guess take that part out, take that part out.
Now, have you figured out how you're going to display this?
I have not figured out anything, as you can see. Now I have it half constructed.
Now it's a mess. He's got it in pieces now.
I don't know if I'll be able to
and we still don't know where the crystal
again.
is.
The crystal
is in there somewhere.
Here.
Well, I looked in the end of it, and it was like a blue. I saw a blue light going on in there.
And it's interchangeable. You can take it out, and I also have a green crystal. And a lot of people are excited for these crystals. With the red crystals, you could get a black crystal in there instead of a red crystal.
Oh.
They come in these little containers. They're very small little containers. And inside the red one, sometimes there's a black one. And that's like the chase crystal. So apparently what people were doing were they were standing in front of the display and holding these little crystal containers up to the light to see if there was a black crystal in there.
Huh.
And they were just hogging up space and everything. So what they did at Doc Onders is they have put those crystals behind the counter now. And you walk up and you tell a cast member, I would like a green one. And I think you can only buy one color, one of the same color per purchase.
Yeah.
So you go in there and say, give me 3 blues and 5 reds. And they'll say, no, you can only get one of each color. Because they don't want people trying to get that chase, you know?
Yeah.
We have, Dylan got the purple.
Well, I still didn't see the crystal.
Well, I'm not, because I can't take it apart. I don't know how to take it apart. Okay. And I'm trying to do a podcast here. I'm not going to sit here and, this isn't shop class, okay? But that was a great experience. I really had an excellent time, and it has created these really awesome, amazing keepsakes that I think, especially my boys, I think will really be able to look at that and always think of this time, and then take their kids 20 years from now and build a lightsaber with them. God, knock on wood. I hope that the park is as successful and stays the way it is for
I hope so. I mean, man, that's the great thing that Disney does do. Is create those kind of memories for people.
Yeah, and it was very solid.
So when you make these and you choose your designs and everything like that, are you choosing a design that is, would you say it's unique to you? I mean, are there enough combinations, or do you
No.
It's not.
Of course not. I mean, there are so many combinations.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. I mean, there's enough pieces. I mean, are there enough pieces to make them unique? I guess is what I'm trying to say.
I'm sure there are many sabers out there
that look just like
exactly like that. There are many different combinations, but like you can't say, give me a piece from the Old Republic saber, give me a piece from the Sith saber, and put it all together that way. They don't let any sort of crossover happen that way. You choose the type of saber. Now, like I said, you can go to Doc Onders and pick up things to customize your saber. What? I don't know. I didn't really shop for that sort of stuff. After I dropped $200, I was like, actually it was $600 because I bought 3 of the sabers.
Right.
So, had to say, I'll wait till next time.
Yeah.
And that is the cool thing about it too, is that you wait till next time, and every time you go, you can pick up a different colored crystal or just something to sort of commemorate your visit to Disneyland and still add fresh value to your saber.
Sure. Bedazzle it.
Yeah. So I was very happy to do that. And everyone just had a real great time. And the whole process takes about 15 to 20 minutes. And like I said, the reservations are required, but now you can make them up to 14 days in advance. And I assume once that window is over, you'll be able to make reservations up to 60 days in advance, like you can for any Disney restaurant, etc., or most Disney restaurants, etc. Lightsabers, though. You might want to consider making a run back to the hotel after you've purchased them, because I have discovered it's a real bitch to get on some of the rides when you have a lightsaber. I was able to cram it into the seat for Space Mountain. Oh, Space Mountain, by the way. Are you aware that they've changed it to Hyperspace Mountain?
No.
Holy crap, dude. I'll get back to that in a second. But I have this saber with me, right? And it's this big, like it's carrying like a poster tube on your back, a huge poster tube on your back.
Yeah.
And when I got to the front of the Indiana Jones ride, they said, you can't have sabers on this ride. And I was like, I just made my way through the queue and I'm ready to get on. And so they said,
they don't have places for you to leave your stuff?
Well, no. And,
like a lot of amusement parks?
Yeah, but I mean, you're right. A lot of amusement parks do offer you a place to put your stuff, but these sabers are $200 a piece.
Right.
And sticky fingers are at Disney resorts.
Of course.
So unfortunately, no, they don't have any, and no, a cast member won't hold it for you. So we had to split up our party of 3, and one had to sit out and hold the sabers while the other 2 rode the ride. And so I think the quote from Michael was not exactly the way I thought I'd be spending my last 25 minutes at Disneyland.
Yeah, as I said, Disney's great at making those family memories and also just ripping people apart as well.
Yeah. Oh. No, we were all
I can imagine things heating up.
The family
situation.
The family all got along really well during the whole trip. I have to say there was no irritation or flare-ups or anything like that.
Good.
So again, second day at Galaxy's Edge, much like the first, but really great because we got the nighttime experience. You want to be there when those fireworks start going off. I think at 9:30. Every night at Disney, around that time, they have a big fireworks show. If you stand by the Falcon, you get a real clear view of it, and it's pretty cool looking at it from the Galaxy's Edge perspective.
Yeah.
Because the way they light everything up at night is just, talking about magical. Holy crap, it's amazing. Oh, something else I love about Galaxy's Edge. You'll be standing there talking to someone, and all of a sudden you'll hear this, and it'll sound like everyone looks up. It sounds like a TIE fighter flew overhead because the way they have the speaker set up and they use the stereo.
Oh, that's cool.
They use the stereo to really give you that surround sound where it feels like it's flying by. At one point I felt like, did the ground just shake from that or something? It was like that kind of immersive quality to the experience is something I haven't heard too many people talk about. But yes,
nice.
It's so convincing. When you hear those sounds, you find yourself looking up to where did that TIE fighter go? Oh, wow. Incredible. Things that I think they could do better with the park. Again, there were some places there that I felt were just filled with crap. I think that there is more room for improvement. I think they are sticking with their narrative, and they're going to be pretty steadfast about maintaining their place on the timeline. So I see it being a sequel era experience for the foreseeable future.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there is room to incorporate things like The Mandalorian, and I hope they do that. But The Mandalorian happens 3 to 4 years after the events of Return of the Jedi, whereas the sequel era happens 34 years after the era of Return of the Jedi. So, hopefully they'll loosen up on their whole has to be this part of the timeline.
Yeah.
I just really think that there's almost an element of overthinking that. That's not necessary. That is just not necessary. Because when you go to Harry Potter land, it's not like, well, it's the sort of aesthetic of Harry Potter, but it's not Harry Potter.
Right.
I think people, I think Star Wars is more expansive, and they're missing a big piece of the pie.
Well, is there enough room there to
yes.
You think, compartmentalize areas? Like here's the OT area, here's
Yeah.
I mean, is that a possible?
I think that would be great.
Because then you're not really mixing.
Right.
It's all in one place, but it's not overlapping necessarily. It's just sectioned.
I know there are people who disagree with me on that. But, again, I just think they're excluding 75% of Star Wars, if not more.
Mm-hmm.
David Sparks put it good. He's like, it would be pretty cool if you're just standing here and you look up and Ahsoka is up on one of those platforms looking down on crowds with a micro binoculars or something. Like, wow, that would be cool. But Ahsoka is not part of this part of the timeline, so at least she hasn't been revealed to be yet. That could change. That probably will change.
Yeah.
She's become such a popular character. But
sand people stunt spectacular or
stuff like that, right? Right? I would love to see some Jawas scurrying about.
Well, are there shows?
Okay, there are performances that happen. I witnessed 2 of them. One of them happened at that TIE fighter thing, whatever that's called. There were stormtroopers, and they were telling the crowd to disperse or something. It's a little stage area, and a First Order officer came out and started barking a bunch of stuff, and then steam came out of the TIE fighter and stuff, and Kylo Ren came down the ramp, and Kylo got pissed off at something the First Order officer was saying, so he started choking him. And then Kylo left the stage.
Does Kylo talk? Does he have
yeah, he says stuff. He says stuff. And I shot video of all this too, so this will be part of my video package. Coming to YouTube.
Yeah, he's
our RFR channel. But so he storms off with the troopers, leaving the First Order officer on his hands and knees, like kind of like Admiral Krennic was in Rogue One. And then the trooper gets up and tells everyone to disperse. So a lot of that going on. Disperse. So maybe that's why people think Galaxy's Edge is so empty, is because the cast members are telling everyone to get the hell out of there. Disperse.
Nothing to see here.
But no, it was really cool. Then another performance I saw, it was Chewie and Rey. And they were by the Blue X-Wing that is close to the entrance by Critter Country. And there was some kind of problem with the X-Wing, and Chewie was working on it with hydro spanners, and Rey was over there, and Chewie was really fussy about everything that was going on and stuff. I'm going to have to review the footage on that one. It was entertaining. And like I said, when Chewie walks by, wow, holy crap. It's like the Rolling Stones have entered the building,
Yeah.
It's like just really amazing. So I followed Chewie around a little bit. And I did. I just, forget my family.
Did he pick up on that you were following him? Like, looking over his shoulder, like, what do you want?
There must have been something about the way I looked. But I could not get any of these cast members to interact with me. First Order troopers were there, and I was like, oh, they yell at people for looking at their phone. So I'm standing there, and I was like, oh, he's going to say, put down that data pad. And I'm like standing in their way, like, look, I'm on my phone. They went and interacted with me. And then one time they came over, I was like, down with the First Order. The guy looked at me, and he just kept walking. It's like, what is it? It must be me. And Chewie, I was yelling stuff at Chewie, and he was just, But Wendy, you put a blonde in front of the Wookiee, and, it's hugs for Wendy. No hugs for me.
Just got to be better looking.
So, there's just so much that I could. I didn't try the food, like I said, so I can't really comment on that. But a lot of people have said the Ronto wrap is really good, but everything else is suspect. I noticed that most people in the park, they don't call it Galaxy's Edge, like most of the attendees at the park. They just call it Star Wars Land.
Yeah.
Very few people were referring
to
it as. Now, of course, the cast members, they will all call it that way. I'm just talking about your regular park attendees. we call it Star Wars Land. Something that I did notice that was kind of cool was there were cast members there in front of the Falcon, telling people to, keeping people out of pictures. Like there's like the area just right around the front of it. A lot of people want to go there and take pictures, and they were managing that a little bit so you could get a nice clean shot of yourself in front of the Falcon without a bunch of tourists around you and stuff.
Yeah.
They were doing a good job with that. Of course, they were accompanied by a photographer. I'm sure they were trying to make money off of you to take your picture in front of your Falcon, an official Disneyland photo. Everyone's got cameras on their phones now. I'm not going to pay $20 to get my picture taken in front of the Falcon when I just take a selfie. But for the most part, I think they did a good job of managing the crowd in front of that thing. Just flying through some photos here to see if there's anything else I want to touch on while we're still talking about it. And before I get into my investigative report.
Ooh,
yeah, because that's going to happen.
Well, now, but what would you say overall in terms of the time spent there? I've heard people say that there needs to be more to do. I mean, did you ever have that feeling while you were there? Or I feel like I did what I had to do. I felt fulfilled, and I left and went to other parts of Disneyland. Time would you think is a reasonable time to spend there?
That's a really good question.
Before you.
Okay. Well, let's just look at what we did on Tuesday night.
And do you think that nighttime is a significantly different,
I think
different experience than day?
Yes. All good questions. I think that if you're going to the park, you should give yourself time to see it in the daylight hours and in the evening, especially for the fireworks. I recommend going to see the fireworks by the Falcon. There's a lot of great place to view the fireworks there with not so much of a crowd. I stood actually in the alleyway right across from the cantina, just facing the door to the cantina. There's sort of a fake blast door kind of thing there. It looks really cool, all lit up at night. And I just stood there and had a clear view of the fireworks. So that's a good place to see it too. If it's too crowded by the Falcon, there are other places in Galaxy's Edge where you can really get a good view of the fireworks. So I appreciate that a lot. I'll tell you that we had 7:55 p.m. reservations for Savvy's Workshop. So we entered the land at about 7:30 on Tuesday night. We built the sabers, photo ops in front of the Falcon, go on the Falcon ride. We did all that and then had reservations at Olgas Cantina at 9:35, and it all timed out perfectly. There was no downtime, and went over. Caught some fireworks before I went into the cantina, as I was saying. And then we went in the cantina, hung out there for about 45 minutes till about, probably left that part of the park at around 10:15, 10:30. Oh, we did go into Doc Onders and do a little shopping after that. So probably around 10:30, we had fast passes for Hyperspace Mountain at 11:05. And I walked there and was there for the beginning of that window. So I had walked over to Tomorrowland from Galaxy's Edge at around, I'd say, 10 to 11. So there you can tell about a solid 3 to 3.5 hours in the park.
Yeah.
And we accomplished a lot and did a lot. But there was more to do. There was more we could have done. We could have had something to eat. In the park, in that part of the park. Like I said, I hadn't tried any of the food options. I felt like they were gouging a little more price-wise for food in that part of the park, too, which made me avoid it. I ended up having a grilled cheese at this one place right off of Main Street. It was fabulous grilled cheese. Oh, my God, was that a great grilled cheese. But, I didn't really do the food.
Yeah.
But there was, I'd say you could really sink your teeth and do 5-6 hours in that park.
Yeah, that's cool.
To really get the full experience.
And there's a droid thing there too.
We did not do that. You didn't do that. Didn't set foot into that. I heard mixed reviews about those droids. I heard that people were breaking them the second they walked out of the place, and they're $100. These toys. But again, something that's very customizable. Build your own. Kids love that. And
sure.
I'm sure I'll end up buying one of these. They're not done getting all my money, or I should say all my credits. Now, something I was really worried about going into the park, obnoxious cast members, like speaking in kind of jibber-jabber language to me nonstop. Like I said, I tried to interact with the bartender. He wasn't biting. But what I was really afraid of was like every attendant would be all smiling at me saying, "Bright suns to you. May the spires be with you," and all this like crazy crap they're supposed to. That was not so.
See you in the refresher.
No one was saying that.
That would be a weird thing to say, really. No one was now that I think about it. Yeah.
Interesting in the bathrooms at the sinks. This is the case in the men's room. I'm sure it's the same in the ladies' room, but the sinks had all the tubes, like piping. The plumbing was coming like from floor to ceiling, and it sort of resembled the piping you would see behind the bar at the Mos Eisley Cantina. And the bathroom itself was made to, like I said, be part of that lived-in universe. To me, it just looked really grimy and gross.
Really?
It looked like the type of bathroom you'd go into at like the beach at Santa Monica. Those gross bathrooms there. They're just like nasty, and it was made to look.
But there were doors on the stalls and stuff. Like the even usual amenities were there.
Even
right?
the partitions between the urinals were they had like a Star Wars aesthetic to them. They look like little blast doors or something.
Was there graffiti for good?
No, see, I wish
for
there
good
was,
time. Call Walrus Man.
I wish there was stuff like that, or like a funky looking toilet just there. Because they have space to do that in there. Or maybe a snaggletooth bathroom attendant or something. Who would be the best bathroom attendant in Star Wars?
Lobot?
No. Well, Lobot would be. He would kind of have he would be good at like a Coruscant steakhouse working in the.
Yeah,
he's a little more
higher,
classy.
Yeah,
a little more classy. I'm thinking like a Dex from Dex's Diner, because he could hand out multiple towels with the forearms. He could have sure. Here's breath mints in one hand and a towel in the other, and a little tip jar there. But no, they haven't gotten that immersive yet. Hopefully, the Imagineers are listening and taking notes. Speaking of Imagineers, I still am friends with Imagineer, former Imagineer. I shouldn't say his name, and I'm not going to. But he is the guy who presented to me this idea years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, Hyperspace Mountain. And he created this video that would sort of show what it would be like going through Space Mountain with Star Wars stuff.
Yeah.
Music, video projection, models. And I was like, wow, that's the greatest idea I've ever heard. That would be so amazing. And it never really happened. But now it's happening.
That's what they're doing now.
Now they've done it. I don't know when this happened. I think it must have happened over the course of the last year or so, or two. I have to admit, last time I was in Disneyland, I didn't spend much time in Tomorrowland. Usually I spend considerable amount of time in Tomorrowland because that's where Star Tours is. But our experience last year was we got to the front of the ride at Star Tours, and all the emergency lights turned on, and they escorted us out the door and said the ride was closed. It's like, well, we're next on. We were literally the next on. Some Yahoo must have pulled a fire alarm or something. So we'll come back to Star Tours later, and we just never did. And they didn't give us a fast pass or anything like that. And so I didn't spend much time in Tomorrowland, and I did not go on Space Mountain last year. So I don't know if it had all of these Star Wars tweaks, but it's relatively new. And it was an idea that a friend of mine had, who's no longer with the Disney company, and it appears that someone in Imagineering had no problem stealing his idea and running with that ball. And I'm happy. I have to say I'm happy they did, because the execution of it is far more impressive than I was imagining in my head. Right from the get-go, it's Space Mountain as you traditionally know it, but there are Star Destroyers and X-Wings and Star Wars music cranked up and laser blasts and TIE fighters. And at one point, you make the jump to lightspeed. At one point, you actually fly at a TIE fighter and it's coming right at you. It is
okay. So yeah, you're talking about the ride. Because the way I remember, it's been a long time since I've been on Space Mountain, but the roller coaster was in the dark.
Yeah.
And they projected. Were there asteroids and stuff in there? I mean, it was like space. There was some projection going on in there.
Like you would see a nebula and shooting stars.
So is that what they retooled?
Yes.
That?
Yeah, and it's far more intense.
But they didn't redesign the ride.
No, the ride itself, the roller coaster is the same.
It's still the same.
Been, yeah. But, I mean, just with all these great Star Wars elements in it.
Yeah.
Wow, and they changed the name to Hyperspace Mountain.
That's cool.
What a great job they did with that. I was not expecting that. I knew that they changed the name to Hyperspace Mountain. And I figured they'd be playing Star Wars music in there. But I didn't realize the visuals were going to be so incredible.
That's a permanent change.
It sure appears to be. Yeah. It sure appears to be that. I think they were messing around with... they had like little soft launches for it over the last few years. But this is the first time I rode it. And I don't know if it appears to be a permanent switch. But again, I don't know if they just did it because of Star Tours, Galaxy's Edge launching.
Mm-hmm.
But it was fantastic. Now, let's get down to the nitty gritty and into my investigative reports. Has Star Tours abandoned Lucas era content? That's right. I'm Jimmy Mack from the Rebel Force Radio Investigative Report team. So it all started with an email from Colin. He recently visited Disneyland, and he was riding Star Tours, and he had noticed something. Every ride was featuring only sequel era content. And also there was a new scene featuring a safe landing on Batuu. So all tying into Galaxy's Edge. So Colin is wondering if the Lucas era content has been removed on Star Tours.
What do they have? They had before, it was like, what, Coruscant?
Oh, my God. There were so many different levels.
How many?
All right. So what you would deal with were a bunch of different elements that would be randomly selected for each Star Tours ride. So you could ride on it and see any variety of combinations of scenes. You had pod racing on Tatooine, flying through Hoth, Coruscant, Naboo. And then you would also have different interaction with holographic characters. Yoda would beam in, Princess Leia, and now with the sequel era, Poe Dameron.
So were these all elements that would appear?
Yes, randomly.
Separate combinations?
Yes, in different combinations.
I see.
So you would have any different, and in the intro, you could have a different thing where you confront Darth Vader. And they open fire on the ship in the hangar, and that's what causes you to fly out and go on your adventure. And every time that the ship would make the jump to light speed, you'd end up at a different planet, and that's when the content would randomly be selected to be part of the ride.
And wasn't all this content introduced when they redid the ride?
Yeah.
Oh, so it's not even that old. I only remember the first Star Tours. That was the last time I've been on it.
With Pee Wee Herman,
right?
Yeah, the new Star Tours I've been on it, and experienced every kind of different bit of content that had been featured. Over the last couple of years, they've since added Crate from The Last Jedi and Jakku from The Force Awakens. And now they've added Batuu. And so we've been hearing these reports that people have only been getting sequel-era content on their rides to Star Tours. So me and the boys rode Star Tours 3 times. And here are the results. Each time we confronted Kylo Ren instead of Darth Vader in the hangar. We visited Jakku, Crate, and landed on Batuu at the end. And the holographic message came from Poe Dameron. The ride was identical 3 times in a row and completely dominated by sequel-era content.
So that
not a bit of content from the Lucas era.
And you don't think it's possible that you just got those combinations each time? I mean,
we wanted to ride a 4th time, but nobody wanted to do the same planet.
Yeah.
It lost all of its edge for multiple rides.
Well, why would they still have the AT-AT out front, don't they? Or is that gone?
No, that's in Orlando.
That's only in Orlando.
Yeah.
I see.
At the Disney Hollywood Studios. This Star Tours in Disneyland is part of Tomorrowland. And it's the queue is virtually identical. But and the ride itself has been virtually identical. But we had nothing but sequel era content. Okay? But that doesn't close the book on this investigative report, sir. No, sir. It certainly does not, because we have other members of the Rebel Force Radio investigative report team with boots on the ground in Disneyland. Most notably, David Sparks, Max Sparky. When he's not at Galaxy's Edge, I think he occasionally still rides on Star Tours, and he told me that it's not uncommon for there to be a dominant combination of content for Star Tours when new things happen, be it a new film release or, in this case, the release of the Star Wars land, Galaxy's Edge. It's a promotional tie-in. It's marketing. They just go a little overboard with the programming, making sure that most writers are seeing the new stuff because they assume that's what people are coming to Star Tours for. They want to see the new stuff they haven't seen before. People who've been to Star Tours a bajillion times. They want to ride it and see Crate. They want to see Batuu. They want to see the new sequences. The new Batuu sequence is very short. It's at the very end. You just safely land on Batuu. And you see a couple of BB-8s banging into each other and doing like wacky stuff. And it's interesting to see Galaxy's Edge come to life like that when you're landing the ship. That's pretty cool. And then 3PO says something corny like, I believe the adventure is just beginning. You know, it's something corny like that.
So wait a minute. So they have not deleted the older content.
Well, you know, logic dictates that it has cost them a ton of money to create these different levels of content for Star Tours, and that nothing should truly be abandoned. But I just think the programming gets tweaked in such a way to market and showcase new additions to Star Wars
from a marketing standpoint, I get it, but in terms of like what people want to see, I don't buy that. And people still want to see Darth Vader, whether they're 2 years, you know, whether it's a 4-year-old child or a 35-year-old, you know,
it's the same
father.
sequence. It's the same sequence, but Vader has been digitally removed and replaced by Kylo Ren.
Yeah. I mean,
all right. Now here's an update from one of our investigative reporters, Jeff Ellis, who says, "Guess what? I had a different Star Tours, one of the older ones, without Crate and Batuu.
Oh.
It was one with Kashyyyk and Naboo."
Oh, okay. Well,
so it hasn't been shelved.
Well, that's good.
Also, I heard, you're a big shot Star Wars podcaster when you get recognized at the Disney parks. And listen, if you just blowing smoke out of my butt. But I was recognized by a guy I've interacted with in the past on Facebook, and I think we're members. We belong to similar Facebook groups. His name's Yancey. And Yancey was at the parks, and we ran into each other while we were queuing through the Millennium Falcon ride. And so it was a very brief thing, He's like, yeah, Jimmy Mack, nice to meet you. I'm like, I'm here with my family. He introduced me to some of his family. And then the line went, he went one way and I went another way. I didn't see him again.
Where is he? Where's he from? Yancey is an unusual name. Yeah.
Yancey. Look, here's a picture of me and him.
Oh, yeah.
There we are. Look at the rays of sun. But yeah, there we are. We're right by.
A lot of whiskers going on there.
Yeah, a lot of whiskers. Well, you're on vacation, so I don't shave on vacation. I barely shave every other week.
Shave anyway.
But I have since shaved since I've gotten back. But yeah, there we are. We're over in New Orleans Square, close to Tom Sawyer's Island in this photo, and we're both just having a good old time.
Very cool.
At Disney. Confirmed Jimmy Mack sighting.
And he's got his Star Wars shirt on. I could see. He looks like a Hildebrandt.
Yeah, and what caught my eye while he was in line for the Smuggler's Run was he was wearing a Marvel Star Wars shirt. And see, there it is. He's got a few of them.
Oh, that's cool.
We're looking at your Facebook page right now, Yancey. Everyone go befriend Yancey. He's a nice guy. Oh, look at this. He's got the video of George Brett freaking out on the pine tar
incident. Oh yeah,
what was that? 1983,
82 or 83? Yeah,
that was great. Oh, what a great moment. So I'm looking because Yancey had a report. He had something to report. See, that's V. Marati. She's like the main rebel at Galaxy's Edge.
Uh-huh.
That's a different actress than I saw. I mean, you have to assume they're not going to have the same actress.
Right, like the Cinderella or the Snow White.
Right, but yeah, she's a different. But the one that I saw interacting with the kids was she was doing a stellar job with those kids, making them feel like they were part of an adventure, and the kids were dressed up too. Oh,
is that Ray?
That's Ray, Yancey with Ray at Galaxy's Edge. Okay, all right, okay. On her secret mission. Oh, and here's Yancey drinking the Outer Rim at Olgas Cantina. He's enjoying it at 9 a.m. Yes, I'm having an adult beverage at 9 a.m. It's a hashtag don't judge. But, he took a lot of pictures. He told me he took a lot. My God, he sure did. But so, yeah, it was great to see Yancey there and hang out with him. And he has reported to me that he definitely got Lucas-era content when he rode Star Tours.
Oh, good.
So there you have two reports there definitely telling us that there is content from the Lucas era still in use at Star Tours. I think that this is just a marketing move. I think that the new content has been programmed in to appear more frequently, to both promote The Rise of Skywalker and, of course, Galaxy's Edge itself. So that's all. And I think that, once The Rise of Skywalker comes out, there'll probably be an environment from that film that gets made into Star Tours content, and we'll see a lot of that.
I think that's going to be the story with a lot of that park. I mean, I really do. I think you're going to see it open up to other eras. I mean, they've got this, the Cassian Andor thing coming, the Mandalorian thing coming, the end of this trilogy. I mean, why would you, Star Tours, I mean, how much fun is it to ride it repeated times knowing you might get these different scenes? I mean, that's part of the allure of it.
Right.
I mean, I've got no problem with them focusing on, their sequel trilogy right now. That's all fine and good, but you can't remove that older stuff.
Right. No.
Can't do it. Don't do it to us.
No. And so they also have a cool little display there, the Star Wars launch bay, where you could do meet and greets with Chewbacca and Darth Vader. They have plenty of original trilogy props and prequel trilogy props and models and all kind of cool Star Wars crap. I also did a walkthrough video of that, so you can see what Star Wars launch bay is currently looking like these days at Disneyland.
Star Tours, though, is that like the queue and everything? Has that all been redone with the update they did years ago? Or
yeah. It's very similar, but different. Yeah. I got to admit, I'm having a hard time recalling what the queue was like for the original Star Tours. The speeder is there. 3PO and R2 are there. Animatronic 3PO is amazing. They have a huge video screen in there that is supposed to be like the arrivals and departure screen you see at the airport. They show promo videos, little travel promo videos for places like Coruscant, et cetera, et cetera. Dylan was getting mad seeing that stuff because he's like, that's faulty advertising because we're going to get Batu, Crate, and Jakku we know what we're going to get going into this. And that kind of sucked. Yeah. After the third time of the exact same combinations on Star Tours, I have to admit, that kind of sucked.
Yeah,
so I think they're being a little heavy-handed with the programming, making it so dominant. Put in one new sequel trilogy era component and then mix it up. Mix up the rest. This thing with Disney where they're just like so terrified to let these eras of the timeline cross over. It's just an amusement park. Get over yourself. Like at Harry Potter Land, that's not an issue. And that place does gangbuster business. So, sometimes it just gets a little overthought. But on the other side of the coin, too, I have to say I appreciate all the workmanship that's gone into the park. It's an amazing visual experience when you're there. All the senses really come into play when you're at Galaxy's Edge. But the strongest thing that I felt when I walked in there was, just as Wendy said, I was awestruck when I walked in there and saw the Falcon.
Can't wait to see that myself.